All right, today we're diving into something pretty wild from Google DeepMind. It's called Antigravity. Now, this thing is built for developers, and the big promise here is that it combines three tools you use every day: an editor, an AI agent manager, and a browser into one single package. So yeah, let's see what it's actually all about.
So right off the bat, this brings up a massive question. Really, the core idea behind this whole thing. Can an AI actually build an entire functioning application from just one sentence? I mean, that's the dream, right? Well, Antigravity claims it can, so let's find out if that's just hype or if it can actually deliver.
Okay, so what is anti-gravity, really? Well, you can think of it as a development environment, sure, but it's more than that. It's not just a fancy text editor. It's a whole new system where you're not just coding in it, you're collaborating with an AI agent to build, test, and tweak your software. The whole vibe is just completely different.
So to really get how this works, you gotta understand its foundation. Everything you do in anti-gravity is split across three main, let's call them surfaces. They're distinct, but they're all tightly woven together. Think of them as the three main views of your entire project.
First up, you've got the Agent Manager. This is your command center, the big picture view. It's where you spin up new AI agents, give them their marching orders, and just keep an eye on what they're doing across all your different projects. It's literally like mission control for your new AI coding buddies.
Then, of course, there's the editor. And look, this is going to feel right at home for any coder. It's a proper, full-fledged code editor. But here's the key part, and this is super important. You can jump in anytime. The AI gets you, say, 90% of the way there, and then you can just grab the keyboard and take it over the finish line. You're always in control.
And the third piece of the puzzle is the browser. Now, this is not just your standard Chrome window. Nope. This is a special version with the AI agent baked right into it. Why? So the agent can not only build your app, but then immediately fire it up, click around, and test what it just made, all by itself. It gives the AI this instant feedback loop to see if its code actually works in the real world.
Okay, so that's the setup, that's the theory, but let's see this thing in action, right? We're going to watch it build a flight tracker app, and we're starting from scratch, literally just a single sentence prompt.
And here it is. This is the exact prompt. It says, build me a flight lookup Next.js web app where the user can put in a flight number. Now, take a look at this. It's pretty detailed, right? But it's just plain English. It's asking for a Next.js app. It even says to use a mock API for the time being. This one little sentence, that's the starting point for the entire application.
So as the agent starts chugging away, it's not just a black box. You need to know what it's doing. To keep you in the loop, it creates these things called artifacts. Just think of them as little progress reports. And there are three main types that it uses to show you its work and its thinking.
So let's quickly break these down. First, you've got the task list. That's basically the agent's own to-do list. Pretty straightforward. Then there's the implementation plan. This is huge. It's the agent showing you its plan of attack before it writes a single line of code, so you can give it the thumbs up. And lastly, you get a walkthrough, which is just a final summary of what it built and how it tested it. All three of these together make the whole process super transparent. You're never guessing what the AI is up to.
Okay, and this is where things get kind of magical. Once it's written the first batch of code, the agent just runs the server and opens up that special browser all by itself. And you can literally just sit back and watch its mouse cursor move around the screen. It's typing in a flight number. It's even trying bad inputs to see if the error handling works. It's wild.
So yeah, the agent can build a basic app all on its own, which is cool. But the real game changer here is working with it, treating it less like a tool and more like a teammate. And this is where we see its power to multitask and collaborate really shine.
Check this out. While we're maybe tinkering with the UI, we can give the agent a totally separate job to do in the background. So for task number 1, we're going to tell it, hey, go research the Real Aviation Stacks API. So off it goes, reading the documentation, figuring out how the whole thing works.
And get this, at the exact same time it's doing that research, we can give it another completely different task, something more creative. Since it's hooked into Google's image models, we can just ask it to whip up a few logo concepts for the app. We can even tell it to try different styles, like make one minimalist or give me a classic look.
So while it's off designing logos, boom, a notification pops up. The API research is done. It shows us that implementation plan we talked about, and this is where it really feels like a code review with a teammate. We can just leave comments like this one here, where the developer is saying, hey, use the API key I gave you and stick this in a util folder to keep our code nice and clean.
And this right here, this is the perfect example of the new workflow. You see how the work gets divided up? The agent takes on all the grunt work, writing the boilerplate code, reading boring API docs, running simple tests. That leaves you, the developer, free to focus on the interesting high-level stuff, figuring out how to plug in the live data, polishing the user interface, and making those final architectural decisions before you commit the code.
So when you put this all together, what does the new coding workflow actually feel like? Well, it's a huge shift. You're moving away from typing out code line by line and moving towards being more of a strategist, a reviewer, a director.
It really boils down to this simple 4-step loop. First, you prompt it with what you want in plain English. Second, you review the plan it comes back with. Third, you collaborate, giving it feedback and direction. And finally, you jump in to finalize the last few details and ship it. Prompt, review, collaborate, finalize. That's the new cycle.
All right, to wrap up our little flight tracker app, let's give the agent one last challenge. We'll ask it to add a final feature. Make it so you can click on any flight, and it'll create a Google Calendar event with all the flight info. This is a great final test because it goes from a simple idea all the way to a feature that integrates with another service.
And just like before, you see that cycle play out perfectly. The agent writes the code, pops open the browser, clicks on the new button it just created, and yep, it confirms that a Google Calendar event gets created with the right details. It's verifying its own work from start to finish. Just incredible. So let's just recap the big advantages here. We went from a totally empty folder to a working web app in, a few minutes? The AI was juggling multiple tasks at once, we collaborated with it like a teammate, and it took care of all the tedious research and boilerplate and testing, and on top of all that, it even gave us smart context-aware suggestions when we did decide to jump into the code.
Which really brings us to the big takeaway. This is a massive shift in what it means to be a developer, right? You're moving from being just the builder, the person laying every brick, to being the architect, the director of the project. So the question we're left with isn't really if this is going to change things, it's how much? Is this, right here, what the future of building software is actually going to look like?